I was able to stack up 44,352 points for destroy ticks on Stella Montes. I did fail to extract with these points, but it's totally on me. I got greedy and then hesitated on my way out to loading bay, which put me into a dangerous spot and a shredder made me pay for it. That said, the strategy is solid and you can get yourself just as many points by following it. For your equipment, you want to make sure that you have a hole cracker as your secondary. You don't need a ton of ammo. I'd recommend 72, but you can get away with 48. This is for the shredders that you're going to run into during this rotation. Bring a primary that you like for ticks, fireballs, and pops. Whatever you're comfortable with will work well for this. The key areas that you want to try and hit are the seed vault, which has a ton of ticks for you to get. The cultural archives right by the seed vault also has a ton of ticks to get. And then the business center, which is connected to the cultural archives, also can have ticks. Then lastly, the medical bay also has ticks, and you can find some in the tunnels along the way. Now keep in mind, RNG does play a big factor here. I did this run twice, and in the first run I had a ton of ticks in business center, and in the second run I had very few, and instead it was just a ton of pops and fireballs. So just keep in mind that RNG will play a role, and sometimes it helps or hurts your run overall. Once you spawn in, you want to head for one of those areas that is closest to you. If you have the ability to get to Seed Vault first, definitely do that. It has the highest volume of ticks. Now I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit. There was a player that was playing music through the in-game voice for the first part of this game. Starting at the Seed Vault, this is the ideal place that you want to be, as you'll find a higher volume of ticks in this space than anywhere else. You'll be able to find ticks on the ceilings, on the walls, even running about, so make sure you work through each of the spaces and pick up all of those eliminations. If raiders are in this area looting and hanging out, keep in mind they will block tick spawns, so you may want to try and convince them to leave. Once you've taken out all the ticks in the seed vault, head up to the cultural archives. Inside the cultural archives, you'll find your second highest volume of ticks throughout this match. I recommend sticking to the right hand side as you push up towards the business center. This will allow you to farm up all the ticks that have spawned on this side without crossing over and wasting time zigzagging across the room. You will deal with pops, fireballs, ticks, and shredders in this space, so make sure you come prepared for those fights. Use your hole cracker for the shredders and then your secondary for anything else. Once you have eliminated everything in the space, head up to the business center using the zipline or your snap hook. Once you make it up to business center, you can find ticks in the room that you enter into from the cultural archives or to the right in the reception area of that space. All around you will find pops and fireballs, and there's a shredder that patrols the auditorium nearby. Depending on your RNG for the round, you may see a higher volume of ticks in this area or a higher volume of pops and fireballs. For this run, it was pops and fireballs for me, with a few ticks scattered around here and there. Once you've eliminated all of the enemies, head back down the same zipline you used to get up into Business Center to go back down into the Cultural Archives. Again, I recommend sticking to the right hand side to avoid zigzagging across the room and wasting your time. You will find the same variety of enemies that you found earlier in the Cultural Archives with shredders, ticks, fireballs, and pops. Once you've eliminated everything, you essentially go back to where you started, back in the Seed Vault, and the rotation starts again. This rotation is perfect if you're not being contested by other raiders, but if you are in a game where you are contested heavily in this space because players are doing the trial, you can consider doing a Zipline Accelerator from the tunnels under the Cultural Archive all the way into Loading Bay to where the middle zipline is. That will take you up towards the Medical Bay. I do recommend a snap hook for this part. It just makes it easier to get across to where medical is once you take the zipline and loading bay. So for the zipline accelerator, you need at least 6 ziplines to cover the distance that will get you from point A to point B. Be careful with how you position these, especially as you transition through the metro area, as you can get yourself hung up trying to go over the crates, and there is no real easy way to go around them. So be careful when you're placing the ziplines to improve your mobility through this space. Now, the nice thing about the Zipline Accelerator is that it moves you from the Cultural Archives to medical extremely quick. Keep in mind that while you're on ziplines, you can heal up, you can use shields, and you can even manage your inventory. So they also offer a good opportunity to do things that you wouldn't want to do while you're running and slowing yourself down. Once you make it to the loading bay and you take the center zipline up, you want to snap hook across to get into medical. Once you get into medical, make sure you farm all of the rooms, or at least pass by them to see if there's any ticks present. In my game, they were a lot more often in the top floors, the second floors, than they were on the bottom floors, but they can come from anywhere in that space, so just keep your eye out for them. Don't stay too terribly long. You want to essentially start working back to the cultural archives, taking your Zipline Accelerator on the way back. This method got me 27,000, and it essentially helped me cut out some of the contesting that I had over the cultural archives and the seed vault. I wasn't getting as many eliminations in those areas, so the medical space allowed me to make up the difference from that. Every game is going to be different, so you'll need to decide which option is going to be best for you. Beyond that, there isn't a ton more to this challenge. Make sure you are eliminating all the enemies that you come across in the rooms that have ticks. I can't say for sure whether or not it improves the tick respawns, but I know it doesn't hurt it. And then the last thing to keep in mind is if you eliminate a fireball and it explodes, creating the AoE fire, and a tick happens to get eliminated by that fire, you will not get the points for it. So make sure you're taking ticks out first, then the fireballs. Once you've stacked up enough score and you don't want to be greedy like I was, make sure you head for the extraction early enough so you can get back to Speranza safely. Collect your loot if you haven't already and watch your score fly up the leaderboard. That's going to be it for me today, y'all. Thanks for watching.